Hello students, this is Professor Del Russo and I want to make a few comments on your recent midterm examination. Overall, most of you did a real nice job, and I want to specifically congratulate Elena Rizzo for achieving the highest grade in the class. Now, Elena had a 22 out of 25, and what I do is mark the exam on the curve. So Elena's grade becomes the highest grade. For example, she gets 3 points added to her grade, so she has a 25 or a perfect paper because I'm grading on the curve. Now, each student will also get 3 points added to their examination grade, and that will be their final grade for the midterm. Now, there was no one question on the examination that was answered incorrectly by everyone. Each question in the exam was answered correctly by at least one student, usually more than one student. Nevertheless, I'd like to go over a few questions that gave some people trouble. For example, the question about the active and passive voice. Many of you got this correct, but a substantial minority got the question incorrect. And that's a simple concept if you think about it. The active voice requires the person who is doing the action to be the subject, and the object of the action is the object, and it should follow the subject. Nevertheless, some of you selected, a significant minority that is, selected Martha's son David scratched Lucinda on the back. Now that is in the active voice. There's nothing wrong with that statement. David scratched Lucinda on the back. The doer, the actor, David, is at the beginning, and he's scratching Lucinda. The correct answer, one that illustrated the passive voice, was during the assault, Cleo was rubbed by John. There, Cleo is ahead of John. John is the one doing the action, and he's at the end of the sentence. Another question that gave a significant minority of students trouble was the one about auditory discrimination errors and homonym errors. And many of you selected homonym error as describing someone who is a child confusing jury for jewelry. Now that's not a homonym error. A homonym error is a word that is spelled, or more importantly, pronounced the same way, yet means different things. And children tend to get those questions wrong or make mistakes with regards to those questions. For example, draw the blinds, which can mean open the blinds or pull up the blinds, and also draw on a bulletin board or on a blackboard. A bar could be a metal rod or a place where people drink. A court could be a courtroom or somewhere you play basketball or tennis. That would be a homonym error. But confusion about jury and thinking that it means jewelry is what we call an auditory discrimination error. And that's something you had to look up. And by looking it up and having a project related to it, I would have thought that more students would have gotten that one correctly. Another example would be oath. You noticed in your learning project, some children called oath oats. They thought that it had something to do with breakfast or cereal. Because what children do is they may not understand the word, so they select the word that is relevant to their developmental level and is an approximation of the word that they don't understand. The last question I'd like to highlight was the question that said, when a child erroneously reports having experienced an event when it was merely suggested to them repeatedly is known as what? And that is called source misattribution. In fact, there was a perspective about that where I told the story of sticking the key into the outlet when I was a young boy, when I was very young, and my mother having repeatedly told friends and neighbors the story of me sticking that key inside the socket in the wall and it melting. And while I have no independent recollection of that, I believe that I do remember it. And I'm having real confusion about the source of it. The source is really my mom telling the story over and over again, not having experienced it. I don't remember it at all. The source is misattributed to me thinking it happened, but rather only having heard it repeatedly. Anyway, overall, you guys did a really good job, and I look forward to the rest of the course, which will be ending in a few short weeks. So good luck and keep up the good work.